You actually haven't even really seen all these frames in person, right? Like that's how new they are?
That's how new, I truly have not. So this is great for both of us.
Yeah, so actually I'll go through some of our new frames, just kind of some really good fun ones. The one I'm actually holding right here by my hand is going to be our new Brimfield Brown frame. But you can see it's a really thick molding compared to some of the current moldings that we have live. Do you want to take that for a minute?
Absolutely.
I'm not sure if you can get these, Scott. I'm going to turn these up a little bit. This one right here is our Academy Black and Gold. This is also really substantial and thick. There isn't actually a pairing to this one in the same line that's all full gold, and it actually looks really, really cool together. These ones then right here next to you is like a Gramercy, which is kind of like a nice little silver one, not as quite thick. And then this is our new Hudson line frames, and there's 3 in the grouping, the black and gold, the silver, and kind of like an ivory, but they just look really, really nice, and all kind of fun, trendy things that you can actually show. And again, frames kind of go on every home style, kind of like you said, Robert. Let me just show this gold one. It's kind of a big one, but we can try to hold it up. You got it? So this is kind of what we were saying goes with the Academy Gold. It's just really striking, but
I'm going to hold it all the way up because it is such an impressively big, beautiful art piece.
Yes. But yeah, so we're really excited to launch these. Like I said, they're really thick. So they're kind of meant for, really big, grand areas and beautiful artwork to be able to put in there.
Absolutely. And Scott, I'll have you just pull in here just because we have a Gramercy frame that we noted here. This is the Gramercy Silver. And on the small frames, you can get an easel back up to a 10 by 10, 8 by 12, 10 by 10 easel back. And of course, the large pieces are going to be the most impressive thing, right? And you sell what you show. If you have something like this hanging on your wall, that is really going to garner attention and really elevate your game. So if you're thinking about wall art, you definitely should pursue that and go big or go home, right? So let's talk about some of the things that you can frame. You can frame almost anything, honestly, right? You can frame a photo print. You can frame a fine art print. We'll talk about those. You can frame canvas. You can even frame a metal print, right? If you want to do that. So let's talk about some surfaces here. What I have right here inside this frame is going to be one of our portrait canvases. And so the portrait canvas is really an interesting way to present, and I'm just going to move it back and forth so you can kind of see the texture here. This is what we call a peel and press, where they'll take a photographic print and they will actually peel the emulsion off the back and then heat bond that to a canvas which is on masonite that you can hear back there. So they call it a peel and press. That's exactly what it is. So you maintain the characteristics of the photo paper, and you also get a little bit of that texture coming through, really beautiful. And what makes the portrait canvas unique is that the covering on it is a varnish. And this is a special varnish process. We're going to go like this.
Robert, when you say varnish, like that's confusing to some people, right? Like laminate, varnish, like what's the difference? Do you want to explain just a little bit so they can kind of understand?
You bet. And we'll talk about just the premium fine art canvases which are laminated, and that can become confusing. The varnish process is literally they're going to varnish it this way, they're going to let it dry, varnish it that way, let it dry, varnish it this way, and let it dry.
You say varnish like spray almost, right? Like with a spray gun is actually how it's done?
Yeah, so that's going to be a spray surface, and there's going to be a semi-gloss or a matte finish and a matte, and there's going to be 2 really types of surfaces that you can go ahead and print on that are very similar between the 2 families. Yeah. So the peeled and pressed is going to be like a traditional photo canvas on the fine art side, and then there is going to be a giclée. That's a nice fancy French word, G-I-C-L-E-E with an accent on the first E if you're being fancy, and that is going to be printed directly onto a nice tight weave canvas. And then we're going to get into varnish for the portrait canvas, and then lamination for the premium fine art canvas. Also note here that there are a couple of different surfaces that you can go with here. There is a 10-ounce weave underneath, which is a little bit heavier, and then a 7-ounce weave, right? That's a little bit.
And when you say weave, like in my mind, I tell people like 10 ounces, like kind of like a thicker canvas, so it doesn't have as much texture to it, like than a canvas, right? And then the 7-ounce is like thinner lines, so you can kind of see the like a traditional canvas more. Robert, I was asking too. I feel like what's popular with this is most people, would you agree, on these ones are not going to get acrylic because it has the varnish kind of finish on there. So there's no glass / acrylic on there. They usually leave it just like this with that protected laminate, but also then you can really see the texture and everything you were just describing.
Absolutely, and that is the most popular way to go. And of course, there's nothing then between their eyes and your art. And the finish is what is going to make that pop for you. Real quick, before we get into the lamination, I'm going to show you a couple of examples of what is the name of this frame? That was the
Academy, Academy Gold, and then there's Academy Black and Gold.
Thank you for joining White House Custom Color on YouTube. Make sure and check out the information below and click here to subscribe.